Alright, so I always wanted to make this video. I always wanted to make a video about Inktober and the pros and cons of going through this 30-day challenge for artists. In fact, this video also serves for other 30-day challenges, and I really want to talk about the pros and cons, but we're going to focus for this video on Inktober. Alright, so let's start with the pros. And the very first thing that I think Inktober actually is really helpful for artists is to actually give them a chance to improve their scheduling and work ethic. So by actually going and doing a drawing per day, you are really looking at your schedule, at your daily schedule, and the other tasks that you have in a day, say like if you have school, if you're working, if you have other tasks that you have to help friends and family, and you're looking for those pockets of free time, and you're going to learn on how to maximize that time to actually make your illustrations daily. If you go through research phase, if you go through brainstorm, sketching, and then finishing that artwork with ink, if you are in fact using pen and paper. So I think that this very first thing is really, really helpful to get artists started on actually improving their time and improving their work ethic, and to actually properly manage your time, which I do find is something very, very helpful if you want to start doing freelance work in illustration or still even working at a studio. So this is the very first thing, and I do find it quite positive. Next, as another point that I do find actually quite positive for doing Inktober, and this actually goes for digital artists, artists who are using Procreate, for example, to make their illustrations, could be Affinity, could be many other apps. And also could be, of course, Photoshop, Illustrator, anything that you're doing on a computer. Which is, in fact, to actually step outside your comfort zone when doing Inktober and trying with pen and paper. So this is where I was going to say that it also goes for other 30-day challenges if you are using other tools rather than your favorite or your go-to tool. So if you're doing a 30-day challenge using the same tools that you do on your daily basis, that's actually really good and is probably going to improve your current set of tools. But by stepping outside and actually doing Inktober, for example, once again with pen and paper, you're stepping outside of your comfort zone and you're trying something new. And by trying something new, you're learning a whole new set of mistakes. You're improving other skills, which are still very good as to have a broader skill set as an artist and try other things. And following this point, another thing that I find that is actually quite helpful to actually go through a 30-day challenge such as Inktober with a different set of tools is that you are going to quite possibly expand your portfolio. You're going to have a whole new set of artworks. In this case, as for Inktober, they're going to be black and white, made on ink. They're going to be probably very different if you are an artist known for making very, very colorful illustrations, for example. And that is also very good to see on a portfolio, that you have a little bit of, you have a breadth of work, you have like more of a range, and your style can go in either way, for example. So it's these are all very, very positive. And the last thing that I find that is very positive is that the whole premise of Inktober is to actually make these drawings one per day and to post them on social media and whatever platform that you prefer. Could be Instagram, could be Facebook. And by doing that, there's a good chance that you're actually going to increase your following, your base of followers. And this is something that generates, it gets more eyes on your art, it gets more comments, it may get you onto new opportunities just by actually connecting with other people. So these are all very, very positive things for your career as an artist. But now with all that being said, let's talk a little bit about the cons of doing 30-day challenges. And once again, we're focusing on Inktober. On its basic premise, Inktober is doing 30 prompts, one per day for the month of October, and is asking you to actually make that artwork and post on social media. By doing that, you are eventually and inevitably, you are spending more time on social media. You're posting your artwork, you're like looking for feedback, you're looking for reaction from your work, and that all increases the time spent, your screen time. If you have an iPhone, you get that, I believe every week or so, you get the total screen time that you spent looking at your phone, and that will really quite possibly increase by doing Inktober. And it's a bit of a snowball because you're going to be posting your artwork here. You're going to be looking for reaction and likes and comments and possibly new followers. And once you post the next illustration, you might be looking if that one actually is going to do better than your previous one, or if it's going to be a vice versa scenario, and you need to go back and rethink some of your own ideas for Inktober, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot that actually happens, and it basically makes your focus, it shifts your focus onto your favorite social media platform. And that's going to happen for the whole month, of course. And this is an arguable thing. Like, many can say that this is a good thing, but in other ways, it cannot be a good thing if you have your focus attention on this thing for the longest time during the day, and you have other tasks to do, such as, for example, once again, work, school. You have to do chores around the house. I don't know, whatever you actually need to do throughout your day. You may have a very divided focus attention because you're really thinking on what's actually happening with the postings that you're making. Now, as another con, I do find as a consequence of all of that is that for posting on Inktober, and I know that you're not necessarily required to post every day, but the basic premise of Inktober is for you to post daily artwork, is that you have to actually have some very short breaths of brainstorming sessions. You have to know, for example, by morning, you have to think about an idea, read the prompt of Inktober. Let's just say it's ring, and then you have to think about like what you can do with that prompt. And then you sketch an idea, have a brainstorm, and then by night or so, you have to have that drawing ready for the next morning or whatever you're going to post. So basically, by having these short time frames for brainstorm, it could be seen in both ways. They are actually really good to exercise your brain and exercise the speed that you actually have to solve problems. But on another side, if you are brainstorming so heavily and so much on that area, say that you're actually also doing a large project at work, or you're studying for a big exam, you also need to actually have a little bit of your brain like thinking about those tasks. And maybe if it's something for work and it also requires a larger brainstorm, it's going to be harder to focus, especially thinking about brainstorming other areas and other things. But you're going to have probably some quick, short ideas that can be managed within a day. So once again, it could be really, really helpful for you to actually exercise that speed of thought. But on the other spectrum, it might be really hard to focus on and brainstorm on other areas. And now for the biggest thing that I do find as the biggest con of actually doing Inktober and other 30-day challenges is the mental stress that you may be putting on yourself. And that's something that is also very personal, really varies from person to person, from artist to artist. Some actually are quite good about being under pressure or putting themselves under pressure. Others may actually have a little bit of a hard time. So you do have to actually gauge the way that you're going through these challenges. If you are really doing them and feeling quite stressed about putting the next one up, you may actually think or want to rethink the speed that you're actually posting these things. Maybe you want to slow it down to 3 a week, 2 a week, or maybe even once a week, so that you are still challenging yourself. The main thing about these challenges, as the name says, is to actually challenge yourself and to give yourself a chance to raise your skills with a shorter time frame. But on the other hand, if you're actually getting quite stressed, if this is not feeling as fun, you do have to please think about the rate and the speed that you're going through this challenge, and see if that there's something else that you can do to actually take it into the rate that you'll be more comfortable for you. And finally, another one that I find equally important, in fact, as the rate and the mental stress, is how do you see the rewards of Inktober. I do find this actually may be the number one thing or the number one con of doing Inktober. If you are doing Inktober for the likes and the reaction and the followers and the comments, that is very, of course, understandable because you're still posting on social media. But if that happens, is great. If that doesn't happen, it could actually feel more of a letdown for you. You can actually feel that you haven't accomplished anything. When in fact, I think the biggest thing about Inktober is the process, is the journey of doing Inktober, is to increase your skills. And the comments and the likes and the follows, there are secondary, if not something that you shouldn't even consider as the biggest thing at all, because it really is about the journey. And it's about, improving your skills and making those drawings, and bit by bit seeing like what you can get better at, what you have gotten better at from like all of the drawings you've made so far, and not really about the likes, the follows, and the comments. And once again, if you focus so much about that, you may be actually spending more time on screen time, but because you're constantly checking to see the reaction on your phone. You may be focusing, you may be having a hard time to actually focus, because instead of brainstorming about new ideas, you're going to be thinking, I didn't get enough likes on that last post, like what do I have to do? And a big concern about more about the reaction than the work itself. So once again, it's all about the process of doing Inktober or any other 30-day challenge, rather than the awards or reaction from people who are looking at your work. I know it's great to get recognition, but you have to see the awards as the journey and the process of doing Inktober, rather than the actual follows, likes, and comments. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Now, if this video was really helpful, please share with other artists and people that you know, so that they can also get a little bit of help on the pros and cons about actually working or doing 30-day challenges such as Inktober. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more news, tips and tricks, reviews, and that is all for you to become a better digital illustrator. Also, let me know in the comment section down below any other pros and cons you may have about Inktober, or any other 30-day challenge that you have gone through. Also, I'm linking a video here on the right side of the page, on the top side, that it talks about if digital artists should participate on Inktober, and that's a video that you should definitely watch. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.